Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Michael Montero from the Monteville Studios. With me is a readership rod. Came from one Masai man, Mr. Contemporary. Asante sana. Still authentic as it gets. How authentic do we get? I want to make sure it is standing somewhere where you can see it as I continue with my chapters. But today it's a bit different Friday. It's not a continuation of what we're used to. Same book, but one chapter behind. Yesterday we did chapter, our recent post was which was yesterday, was chapter 17. Okay, it was interesting, it was beautiful, it was amazing. I really enjoyed. And you know how we do with this book, we keep it as authentic as it gets. So my people, chapter 17 was saying sharpen your analytical skills. And today I'm going back on chapter 16, which we skipped mistakenly. It wasn't intentional, we're sorry about that. And it says, do not wait for inspiration. I'm gonna continue. A subtopic down there says, thou, O God, dost sell us all good things at the price of labor. That was said by Leonardo da Vinci. I'm gonna start my first paragraph. I can call spirits from the vast deep. Boast Owen Glendower in Shakespeare's Henry IV. Hotspur put down the fiery Celt by replying, why so can I, also can any man, but will they come when you do call for them? Doubtless, Shakespeare is writing here from personal experience. The comings and the goings of inspirations are unpredictable. Magic is the human attempt to control or manage God. Woo! Interesting. It never works. It will never work. We cannot even earn the enriching presence of inspiration by our good works and good behavior. Like prisoners hoping for remission, we seem to be powerless. In creative work, is unwise to wait for the right mood. Writing has to develop its own routine, said Graham Greene in a recent interview. When I am seriously at work on a book, I set to work first thing in the morning, about 7 or 8 o'clock before my bath or shave, before I've looked at my post or done anything else. If one had to wait for what people call inspiration, one would never write a word. The thriller writer Leslie Thomas would agree. People are always asking me, do you wait for inspiration? But any novelist who does that is going to starve. I sit down usually without an idea in my head and stare at the proverbial blank paper. Once I get going, it just goes. It can seem impossible, like trying to drive a car with more water in the tank than petrol. But you just have to get out and push. Better to advance by inches than not to advance at all. Thomas Edison, inventor of the electric light bulb, among many other inventors, or many other invention, gave a celebrated definition of genius as 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. Creative thinking paradoxically is for 99 hours out of every 100 not very creative. It is endlessly varied combination of analysis, synthesizing, imagining, and valuing. The raw materials are sifted, jugged, adapted, altered, and glued together in different ways. The Queen Victoria congratulated the world-renowned pianist Paderewski on being a genius. He replied, that may be, ma'am, but before I was a genius, I was a drudge. Not all intellectual drudges, however, are geniuses. Something more is needed that lies beyond the willingness to start work without tarrying for inspiration and to keep at it day in, day out. You may also need a peculiar kind of sensitivity, as if you were standing still and waiting, prepared and ready with all your senses alert, for the faintest marching of the wind in the treetops. Your spiritual eye may trace some delicate motion in your deeper mind, some thought which stirs like a leaf in the unseen air. It is not the stillness or the breath making the embers glow, nor the half thought that only stirs, but these three mystery in one, which together continues the experience of inspiration. The German poet Goethe uses more homely image. The worst is that the very hardest thinking will not bring thoughts. He writes, they must come like a good children of God and cry, here we are, but neither do they come unsought. You expend effort and energy thinking hard. Then, after you have given up, they come sauntering in with their hands in their pocket, if the effort had not seemed made to open the door. However, who knows if they would have come? One incident in life of James Watt illustrates Goethe's principle beautifully. Watt found that the condenser for the new common steam engine, which he studied at the University of Glasgow, was the very inefficient. Power for each stroke was developed by first filling the cylinder with steam and then cooling it with a jet of water. This cooling action condensed the steam and formed a vacuum behind the position, or the piston, behind the piston, which the pressure of the atmosphere then forced to move. Watt calculated that this process of alternately heating and cooling of the cylinder wasted 3/4 of the heat supplied to the engine. Therefore, Watt realized that if he could prevent this loss, he could reduce the engine's fuel consumption by more than 50%. He worked for 2 years on the problem with no solution in sight. Then, one fine Sunday afternoon, he was out walking. I had entered the green and had passed the old washing house. I was thinking of the engine at the time. I had gone as far as the hard's house when the idea came into my mind that as steam was an elastic body, it would rush into a vacuum, and if a connection were made between the cylinder and an exhausting vessel, it would rush into it and might then be condensed without cooling the cylinder. I had not walked further than the golf house when the whole thing was arranged in my mind. Like a long-legged fly upon the steam, her mind moves upon silence. These evocative words of Robert Frost underline the need for silence and solitude in creative thinking, such as you find a country walk. It helps too if you have a feeling of expectancy or confidence. We have all been given minds capable of creative thinking, and there is no going back on that. So we are more halfway there. We just have to believe that there are words and music in the air, so to speak. If we tune in our instrument, excuse me, if we tune in our instruments to the right wavelengths, they will come in their own time and place. Our task is to be ready for them, for inspiration like chance favors the prepared mind. By contrast, negative feeling of fear, anxiety or worry, even anxiety that inspiration will never come or never return, are antithetical to this basic attitude of trust. They drive away what they long for. If winter comes, can spring be far behind? Of course not. Straight to our key points, and they are three of them. Key point number 1: do not wait for inspiration, or you will wait forever. Inspiration is a companion that will appear beside you on a certain stretches of the road. One sits down first, said Jean Cocteau. Jean Cocteau. One thinks afterwards. One sits down first, then one think afterwards. Develop an inner sensitivity or awareness so that your spiritual eye and ears are open at the slightest movement or suggestion from outside or inside, from above or below, that hints at a way forward. The third point and the last one: you cannot control or manage the inklings that lead to genuine creative work, but having the right attitudes of expectancy, hope, and confidence certainly seems to help. That is our last chapter of the art of creative thinking on chapter 16, our last part. And we have a visitor. Let me open the door. See you when you see me. Hope you're gonna press subscribe and comment and share. See you. The Art of Creative Thinking by who? John Adair. Thank you so much.